Let me start off with the members first. Nick Ryan, are you present?
Present, Chair.
Present. Cool. Jeff, I see you sitting over there. Calvin,
Listen.
Is that you? Way to go, Calvin. All right. Robert Bryant. Richard Horstman.
I am here.
Oh, Jeremy Hardy. Or Jeremiah Hardy. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Matt Jordan. Matt Jordan, are you with
I'm
us?
here. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, LaSanz Alexander.
Present.
Present. Ben, you're here. See you over there. DelDOT staff, Stephanie Johnson.
Not here.
Austin Gray, you're here. Steve Bayer.
Not here.
Not here. Libby. Not here. Anson Kroc.
Not here.
Not here. Bruce Kent.
Bryce is not here.
Bruce Allen, you're here. And Randall, you're with us.
Yes, I am.
Anybody's name who I did not call out?
Yes, Lee Christian.
Christian.
Yep.
He's
Also Aaron Bell, DelDOT.
And who else? I got Lee Christian.
Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron Bell, also with DelDOT.
Aaron Bell. All right. Okay, thank you for that. Takes care of all that. Austin, staff updates. You have also given us a handout from the national, I can't remember what NASAO stands for. National Aviation
National Association of State Aviation.
There we go. There we go. Austin, you've given us a handout. Can you run us through this?
I can, yes. Actually, before I get to that, I'm going to give some more introductory slides, just that I'm required to give everyone on behalf of the department. You all know this by now. Hopefully, this is our mission statement: excellence in transportation for every trip, every mode, every dollar, and every one. You've all seen this frequently as well. The recent, the most up-to-date safety statistics. We're at 55 roadway fatalities year to date so far, which is a decline of about 27% from this time last year. Those numbers look like they're trending in the right direction. Always the goal is zero. But this is encouraging, especially as the summer continues on to be below where we were at this time last year. You've also seen probably the last meeting I introduced this, the SAFE system approach. This is a formal policy the department has adopted from the US DOT. Explains kind of the principles and objectives of all of our programming and project planning efforts. It's supposed to be a collaborative effort with DelDOT, other state agencies, local, federal partners, external partners, towards really making sure that our infrastructure is safe from a variety of aspects: safer people, safer vehicles, safer speeds, safer land use, safer roads, boost crash care. You're probably wondering, what does this really mean for aviation? Everything in the transportation network is connected. They all depend on each other for success, right? And I listed here elements of that SAFE system approach, all of those objectives in the center of the wheel, how they relate to the things that you all talk about and experience and deal with on a regular basis. Workforce development programs for aviation. The goal that, if we make, aviation more accessible, and it means less people are driving longer distances, and that means less crashes on the road and vice versa, right? You are very familiar with the high safety standards that exist for aircraft in the country. Aviation reducing the need for high-speed road travel, and then post-crash care obviously is supported a lot by air ambulance and emergency response activities, right? So all of these things collaborate and combine to make the overall system safer. Just proof in how the aviation sector supports that. And Bob, thank you for the roll call and the introduction on NASAO. NASAO is a group that is supposed to advocate on behalf of the states and engage with the FAA, work with all the states to collaborate with each other, work with local jurisdictions, work with external stakeholders to better the aviation system as a whole. What I did hand out and what I'll share with everybody is a legislative alert that I received a few weeks ago when the federal government passed their most recent reconciliation bill, which included a number of provisions related to primarily air traffic control modernization. So just for sake of sharing that with everybody, looks like this says the bill included $12.5 billion to modernize the nation's air traffic control ATC system. Here's a full breakdown of what was included in that bill. There's a lot in there. This is all accessible online. I'll certainly send this out to everybody so they have access to this information. But just so you're up to date on what's happening at the federal level with a lot of this kind of stuff. And then this last part mentions the new FAA administrator who was confirmed by the Senate about 2 weeks ago. So there is someone leading the agency now, which is great. And so, as new things come out, I want to make sure I'm sharing this information with everybody just for making sure everyone's on the same page as far as what's happening at the federal level and that's communicated downward to obviously those that receive federal funding and apply for federal funding, and make sure everyone just has a good understanding of what's happening there. Does anybody have any questions on any of this?
Austin, did you attend the Washington meeting of NASAO?
I was there.
You were there.
Yep.
You were there. There's one additional key provision on your handout that I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if they discussed this provision at the Washington legislative meeting or if you've heard anything more about it, but the first bullet point says rescinds funds for the FAA Alternative Fuel and Low Emission Aviation Technology Program, which supports sustainable aviation fuels and low emission aviation technology development. Was there any hint about the future of avgas when that was discussed, or do you have any insight on that?
No, I don't have any more information on that right now.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear and learn a little more about that.
I did see something that basically said that the FAA is requiring avgas through 2030 to be available, throughout the nation. So
Right.
there's some sort of a backstop that it's going to be around at least for 5 more years.
Yeah.
They did add it to the grant assurances.
Yes, they did.
And there was a provision if your airport carried avgas up to a certain year. There was a year, and I can't remember what that was. So technically, if you got rid of it after that, you weren't required to carry it.
Right. Yes.
Thanks, Randall.
All right.
Any other questions?
Let's go ahead and move on to item 2, old business, approval of meeting minutes from April 16, 2025. Again, Austin sent us out copies of the minutes from that meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Jeff makes a motion. Can I have a second? We have a second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
All right.
Excellent, excellent. New business. Council member survey response. Austin, I'm assuming that you've got that's your show right there.
Yes. So I sent out a survey after our last meeting. Realized paper copies were not the best way to go, so I made it an online form. Went through those responses today. So I will share those with everybody. I just took screenshots of the responses right from the survey and put them in here. They're all anonymous, so there are no names attached to any of them.
Thank goodness.
First question was, topics or issues would you like prioritized at future meetings? Looked like some fundings and economic impact stuff was in there. So certainly we'll make sure that that's covered on a regular basis. I understand the value of that, and I'll actually talk about some of that today. Anybody have any other comments, things wanted to add to this question? Second question, are there ongoing project or initiatives you'd like regular updates on? There was a response about revisiting the aircraft registration fee for not based aircraft and moving bill to the state legislature. Last I recall, that was discussed maybe 5 years ago or so, and I don't have any more updates on that right now. I don't believe that effort continued, but if that's something this group would like to look at again, that's up for discussion. Chat more about that in the future. Don't want to spend too much time, discussing these right now. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of what responses were received. Any other additional comments on this question? All right, third question. Are there broader trends or developments in aviation that the department should explore or focus on? Only substantive response was another statewide conference partnering with industry trade groups. That is in the works for later this year. So we're working on collaborating with already existing events that are held, the Delmarva Freight Summit. Those events are a good opportunity, I think, to share a lot of this information with the group, those kinds of groups. So we're working on getting some details in place for that. We'll make sure everybody has the information for that when that's available. Don't have dates set right now for that. Again, we'll make sure that goes out to people when it's available. Any other questions on this or comments on this question? Okay. Fourth question was suggestions for guest speakers or expert briefings. One suggestion was the governor. We had a few more industry trade group perspectives, which I think would be valuable as well. Maryland Aviation Administrator, very, very nice guy, was another suggestion. And then some recommendations for some of those topics. I think would be great things that we can discuss further as well. Any other comments on this question? Okay, fifth one, you have the tools and information needed to contribute effectively on the council. There were some yeses, there was one no. Just looking at, I think mostly the takeaway from that one was some more information on cash flow, money coming in, money going out. Certainly, I think that's really important as well, and want to make sure that everyone has access to the information. And I will continue to share that information on a regular basis with the group, if not only through the meetings, and also via email, via other means as well. And we can talk more about best ways to do that, make sure everyone has that information on a regular basis. Any other comments on this question? Sixth one, what resources or materials would help you better fulfill your role? Keeping virtual options available, we will continue to do that. So there are no concerns there. Anybody else have any additional comments on this one? Okay, and the last one, any suggestions to improve how the council functions or communicates? Develop a monthly one-page newsletter, meet with the Secretary of DelDOT once a year. Some positive comments as well. So things for us to take into consideration. Bob and I will discuss a lot of these and come up with a good plan to figure out which ones are make the most sense for us to move forward with and implement and make sure we're capturing everything everyone said at some point as well in what we're doing. Does anybody have any other comments on this question or the survey overall?
I appreciate you all doing it. Yeah, it's good.
Yes, thank you for filling it out. Appreciate it. Okay. Move on to the next item.
Item 2 under new business, fiscal year 25 financial review. Austin, I'm going to assume again that's your.
It's me again,
that's
yes.
you.
So in the spirit of, again, I think transparency and full, fully sharing information with the council. I think it's important to share the fiscal year 25 spend on the department. Fiscal year 25 ended on June 30th, so now we're in fiscal year 2026 as of July 1. The spreadsheet that you're seeing on the screen right now is all of the state funding that's been expended over the past year. So the total state funding for the past year is about $1.1 million. And I'll let everyone look at that for a quick second and digest that. And then I have another slide that breaks it down so you can understand what a lot of the words mean on the screen.
I gotta see it first.
I realize that text is small. I'll make sure this gets sent out to everybody. But I did break out those numbers into a system planning support category and an airport project support category, so you can see where that funding went to. About $206,000 of that went to system planning support. That includes the obstruction review permitting program that we have, the aircraft tying program, the state aviation system plan update that we're working on, the advanced air mobility feasibility study, our non-NIPIAS airport project prioritization process, and then the 5010 airport inspections that we conduct regularly. 206,000 of the total went towards those projects. The remaining 913,000 went to the projects below that. So that included the Summit Airport layout drawing and action plan that we conducted, the Summit Airport seal coating and striping project, Corman Airport AWAS, Corman Airport hangar construction. We restriped the helipad out front of the DelDOT building. We provided funds to Laurel Airport for some tree obstruction removal. We provided funds to Delaware Coastal Airport for their master plan. And then we acquired some property adjacent to Delaware Air Park for their RPZ. There are 3 more projects that we obligated funding to in the fiscal year 25 that we have not paid out yet. Those are the ones that you see italicized that would say not included above. So they're not included in that total, but I wanted to share them with everybody so that you all know that those are on the books and the funding is set aside for those. So all in all, again, 200,000 approximately went to system planning support projects. 913,000 went to airport projects. Anybody have any questions on any of these figures? Comments, thoughts? And I will send this out so everybody has this. Next item.
Go ahead.
All right, the next item is the FY26 fiscal outlook. Fiscal year 26 started on July 1st. So I wanted to give everyone an overview of some jet fuel revenue trends so you understand with some of these numbers in mind, right? Fiscal year 25, we spent $1.1 million in the aviation program. The aviation jet fuel tax of 5 cents per gallon brings in, on average, I know these numbers are small, I'm sorry for those of you in the room who can't really see it. On average, every year, the aviation jet fuel tax brings in just under $200,000. Which if you know how numbers work, 200,000 is not enough to cover 1.1 million. Which means that the remaining amount is covered by the department's General Transportation Trust Fund, which is made up of DMV fees, tolls, things like that. So 200,000 of the amount that's coming in from the aviation jet fuel revenue. The additional needs for the program are supported by other revenues throughout the department. There simply is not enough funding coming in through the jet fuel revenue tax to support everything the department has in its aviation program on a regular basis. this chart, what you're seeing up here, this is FY20 through FY25 November, which was last November. We have a report due every September 1st to the Controller General, outlining the past year's jet fuel revenue income as well as previous year expenditures. So I reached out today actually to get the entire fiscal year 25 revenue numbers, and then I'll be comparing that to the expenditures that you just saw on the screen a few slides ago. And there will be a nice breakdown of exactly how much, what the difference is there. So you'll be able to see that. I'll make sure that this group has a copy of that when that's ready. These graphs, I showed these, I think in January. I just copied and pasted right from the slides. These show you kind of general trends of gallons sold and revenue collected. I believe someone asked previously about a lag in the data. I think it's just when the revenue itself is actually reported versus when the gallons are sold. It's a lag between those two data sets. But you'll see it's generally pretty consistent. There's not really any discernible trend in my opinion. But if anybody can identify otherwise, I'd be happy to discuss. And then what you're seeing on the screen now is an overview of the entire department's capital budget for fiscal year 2026. Right, as I mentioned, the remaining approximately 800,000 of our program budget is coming from the Transportation Trust Fund. Of the entire state or DelDOT's, this is just DelDOT's budget. Of the entire DelDOT budget, 44% of that's operating. The other 56% of that's the capital budget. And then that's split up into the state capital, 26%, 30% capital, or 30% federal capital. And then from there, you'll see the source of all of these funds. I don't need to walk through all of these. What you see is all the things I just mentioned: tolls, DMV fees, federal funds, etc., things like that. I do want to share with everybody some information that you all may have heard about lately on behalf of the department. This is an overview of a legislative package that was recently passed by the state legislature that will provide additional funding for the department. So this funding is intended to provide additional support to all of the department's programs that come out of its state capital budget. So increases in fees and tolls statewide. Those costs support the state's capital budget. The state or the department is seeing right now currently a decline in overall revenue generation, and this legislation, this new revenue package is intended to provide some relief. As it was mentioned, I think one of the survey responses, someone mentioned, the aircraft registration fee. If there are other funding sources that the group just thinks would be helpful to pursue, that's something that the group can discuss to provide additional funding from an aviation perspective. But I think it's important that everyone knows that these funds that come in through tolls and fees and things like that, are funds that are coming back to the aviation projects that you all saw on the screen a few slides ago. So I can make sure that everyone has this as well.
Austin, I'm sorry if I missed it. I know, there's been the longstanding tax on avgas, aviation fuel. And is that mechanism still available for those that submit receipts for purchase of avgas within a year? To get that reimbursed or provided back?
Yeah, I'm not positive.
Yeah, we still do it.
Okay. And then on top of that, I didn't know if you had that broken out, how much avgas is contributing to that, but how many people are actually asking for the refund of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have those numbers, but I can look into that.
Yeah.
And I would also say that the avgas, you only get a portion of it back. In other words, it's like, I think you know, if it's 24, 26 cents, whatever it is, you get 18 cents of it back. They, you know, there is part of it that they keep.
Not the
Not the full. Yeah.
road tax.
Randall's right. Yeah. When we burned avgas, my dad would get real excited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? I know in relation to other fiscal year 2026 aviation projects, programs, we're still doing analysis of what funding is available for fiscal year 2026. As I think was implied through some of this, and as I mentioned, you know, the department is seeing some revenue challenges right now. So there have been cuts to a lot of programs throughout the department. And so we are looking at making sure we have a strategy to support all of the programs that we've been supporting. And whether that means, you know, we cut back here, so we can provide more here right now, and then vice versa in the future. Just making sure we have a whole holistic approach to our program and a strategic approach forward. So we'll be discussing that, and then make sure that at our next meeting in October that everyone on the council has an update on what that approach is. So you're all kept in the loop.
Good.
Any other questions on funding, revenue, anything like that right now?
Good.
All right, Randall, we've got State Aviation System Plan update, progress report. Can you clue us in on where we are with that?
Yes, everything's fine.
Great.
Next, no. If do you want, I can share my screen if that works.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get that. There it is. All right. Tell me if you can see that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just make it full screen here. There. Okay. Really, we're moving through the system plan. It's not done in phases anymore. It's like one continuous thing. So it's going to take us more than a year to get through it. But today I just wanted to focus on the forecast and what we've come up with so far. This is the preliminary results of that. We're using a 20-year planning horizon, and the methods that we're using are similar to the ones used in the terminal area forecasts. We have had to adjust for socioeconomic and fleet mix trends, but you know, in general, we've done 3 sets of forecasts: one for the airline, one for GA, and one for advanced air mobility. We've added advanced air mobility this time around. We've never done that in a system plan forecast, but because you know, it's part of what's going on, and it's part of this system plan, we're including it. So the airline activity, you know, which is at Wilmington, and this is a forecast from in the TAF. They're showing enplanements growing from basically about 135,000 to 155,000. The aircraft operations, the TAF had it growing from 1,752 to over 5,000 by 2045. And if you track what that means in terms of enplanements per departure, that was basically going from 139 down to about 65. So that model did not work, even though it's an FAA approved forecast. So we changed that. We lowered it to where the growth of the operations matched the growth in the enplanements. Peak hour passengers, basically, it's going from, two, I think, two per hour to maybe three by 2045. And in an operation like the one that Ben is running up there, everybody gets on, everybody gets off about the same time, and the parking lot's filled up there for a short period, and some of them leave, and so forth. So the peaking is important for facility planning and how you determine, what kind of space you need in the terminal, hold rooms, and all of that. So anyway, so that's another part of what we're doing. This is basically the operations that are, by year. So it's just kind of a steady growth. And again, this is the FAA's version of it. And then the peak hour type things, you go from 2 to 3, and then the number of peak hour passengers during that time grows as well. We get to general aviation. That's the number of based aircraft has steadily declined, in recent years. But contrary to that, the TAF and the FAA are eternally optimistic, and actually we are too. And so we're showing it growing from the current 385 to 513 by 2045. This number is harder to come by these days simply because they've taken it out of the 5010, and so if you're an airport operator, you got a call from us asking how many based aircraft you had, for that very reason. But GA ops are going to grow as well. So and that growth is by the business aviation recovery that's going on and flight training demand that we anticipate in the future. So these based aircraft totals, you can see them growing and the total ops growing as well. The utilization from a GA standpoint is about 420 annual operations per based aircraft at airports. It varies by airport. Fleet mix will be shifting toward turbine aircraft at the larger airports, but more sophistication at the smaller airports as well. And if you look at the total, this is just a system-wide look. It doesn't really give you any planning thing other than to note that the peak period general aviation activity grows from 160 operations to 206 over that 20-year period. So the peak period, or maybe better, the peak hour totals at all the airports is growing. Some of the airports are not growing, and those don't pump up those numbers, but I don't think we had anybody declining. So you're either growing or you're holding steady. We looked at the advanced air mobility issue, and we've been doing a little some things on this on our own anyway. When I say on our own, I'm talking about the state of Delaware has been doing it on our own prior to the system plan. But in the system plan, the FAA gets to pay for it. And so we're using some of the information that we've already generated in that regard in terms of, how this adaptation of eVTOLs or electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles is going to occur. What's going on with the cargo, the UAS projections that are in with that, particularly the last mile logistics. I noticed that in Texas, there's like 5 states now where Walmart can deliver packages via, from their stores to or supply centers to, people within range of that using UAS. So, and they want to continue that. So that's going to grow. There is, along with this, there's sort of an electrical demand that has to accrue during that time. And we're assuming that there's going to be fast charge posts and battery swap cabinets and things like that occur as this takes a hold. I didn't put the potential demand here, but we just focused on the actualized passenger trips. So Deloitte and there was another bank, or maybe it's an investment firm, came up with a forecast that we were using for 2045 for Delaware of 3.2 million annual passenger trips. And so given the fact that everything has been delayed, thus far, we didn't assume that it was going to pick up the pace, rapidly. So in 2030, that 13,300, we sort of backfilled that to 2030. And so what we're seeing is maybe the first, inkling of passenger trips. And so we're saying that only 1% of the potential is realized by 2030 in 5 years. We're showing by 2035, 10 years from now, only 10% of the potential. And then by 2045, 20 years, we're showing 50%. So we're never, the potential is probably not going to be realized for a whole number of different reasons, whether that's location or price or whatever. But we want to be conservative, but at the same time, we want to be ready. So this is going to sort of direct the system planning function for, facilities in the state. And, without getting too far into that, they'll start at airports and then they'll branch out from there. So we did the same thing with cargo, UAS cargo. That has got a much quicker uptake. That's going to happen a lot quicker because it already is happening. And so in 5 years, we're estimating that there's a number of deliveries from small cargo flights. And if you have under 1 million that you're delivering per year, and we estimated something like 65 million packages are delivered by, UPS and FedEx and so forth to Delaware residents. And so just a small portion of that, might be eligible for this UAS thing. And then, of course, the operations are a takeoff, you leave and then you come back. So it's twice the number of flights. All that all the way through 2045. This might not mean very much to you, but we estimated a peak load megawatts and then the daily energy megawatt hours and what that would mean. And we'll plug that in to what's going on in the future. So just in summary, all of the segments are growing fairly steadily, primarily because FAA's terminal area forecast, that's sort of how their models are not doing cyclical things. The GA portion is the dominant part of operations, which everybody would know. If you get advanced air mobility, that's going to bring in vertiports and power needs. And as we said earlier, the forecast uses the TAF. So that's kind of a in a nutshell, that's the overview. We can take any questions.
Questions, Ken?
I guess I covered it so well that it.
Randall,
Yes.
Randall, I'm curious about companies like Walmart, and you're right. They are already delivering packages in approved states directly, I guess, from the distribution center right into my driveway.
Yes.
How do these companies coordinate the drop-off zone? I mean, do they look?
Right.
Do you as the homeowner have to provide some type of information other than just your address? Because you don't want the package delivered into a tree. No.
Yes. You have to sign up. You have to give coordinates. I think there's photo evidence as well as to where it is, and I believe that there's actually an X marks the spot type of thing where they will drop the package. The thing is the drone will stay at elevation, and this thing on a string will come down, and drop it off that way. In other words, the drone is not going to lower itself and get into trees or whatever. The thing I would see is if it's a windy day, that could be rough. But they will check out, and just like there's if you go on the FedEx website and you have a package coming and you trace that package, one of the options that you have is delivery instructions, and that's a drop down menu, and you can tell them exactly what's going on. I think there's going to be something like that, only a lot more complex in there, for what they have.
Interesting.
Yeah, Randall, this is Bruce. I'm not an expert on the subject, but I wonder some of the traditional carriers like FedEx and the U.S. Postal Service, do they view this e-commerce model of these distribution centers all set up across the country using drones to deliver packages as kind of a threat some way to the viability of part of their business model going into the future? I don't know if that's an issue or not.
I think, and you've just seen July 13th, the Postal Service raised the rates again. I think they're going to raise the rates ad infinitum because, they can't operate the thing on 160 billion or whatever it is that they have. So I think the way that they'll make up for lost, numbers of packages is to raise the rates. FedEx and UPS, which UPS at one point was doing Amazon's work until Amazon Prime showed up. And so it just, those are growth markets. And I guess there's enough for everybody right now, but everybody is getting into the delivery process. And this thing with Walmart is designed to save money for Walmart, essentially. So they can do this a lot cheaper than sending out things. If you get something from Amazon nowadays, they publish on there, if you're a Prime member, you saved $9.50 in shipping charges by being a Prime member. They didn't have to put that, but they put it so that you would know the value of buying your membership with Prime. Well, if that's what it really costs them to deliver it, then you can see why Walmart, if they could do it with a drone and whatever it is battery charges, that would be a wonderful thing for them.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's just my my take on it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on in the agenda to item 4, individual member updates. Let me run down our member sign-in sheet again and ask everyone to comment if you've got anything to add to the group. Nick Ryan.
Chair, for sake of time, I think I'm good. And Randall, thank you for your information. It's very insightful always.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chair.
Good deal. Jeff Corman.
You want all my airport updates?
Sure.
So Laurel, they're trying to take our instrument approach away from us, the FAA is. And they keep saying that I've only had 2 conversations with a guy and he's like, well, it's open for discussion. Anyway, other than that, nothing new at Laurel. The tree clearing has been great. Big improvement. I think actually all our hangars but one are full there. So, which is a struggle with those hangars to keep them full anyway.
Yes.
Even with all the work that we've done through DelDOT, it's probably the only reason they're still standing. So, at Corman, first of all, I have to apologize to Austin. So we had a meeting set on July the 2nd. And my daughter's private check ride with Galen Anderson was July the 3rd. And she's freaking out about her oral, and I called Galen, and Galen's like, just bring her down right now, and we'll just talk. And I forgot, I was so excited and so trying to get there, I forgot all about Austin coming. I pull into Galen's hangar, and Austin calls me, he's like, Jeff, where you at? I was like, oh my gosh. So I sincerely apologize for the 25th
those things
time.
happen. They happen, yeah.
Because we've been trying to meet for about a month. And, but anyway, she passed the next day, and she's now a private pilot, taking her first passenger. So I'm proud dad.
Yeah, cool.
I don't think she's ate up with it like I am, but that's all right. I don't want her to do what I do anyway. So anyway, there at Corman at Greenwood, I had the trees removed on the north end of the property, or not our property, on the end of the runway of 3-4. Since we've been there, they've gotten taller and taller and taller. At one point, Mervine's jet, they took off IMC and flew through the top of the trees and landed in Wilmington. That's been 15 years ago. And us, when we take off loaded, we always got to make a right turn and go around them. And a couple of years ago, I got thinking, I was like, if we ever lose an engine, like, it's going to happen sooner or later, right? So I was able, through the farmer, I was able to have the trees cut down, and no cost to him, no cost to me, they just took the wood. The deal I made with the farmer was, and this is what I wanted to tell Austin, was I'll get it to farmable ground for you. So I will be putting that in, and boy, I hope it comes to fruition, because he's already asked me when I was going to do it. The price right now I got was $72,000, I think. I also got a price from the Delaware Electric Co-op to bury the wires there, just $100,000. So all doesn't have to be done the same year, by no means. I would like to blacktop the taxiway on the north end of the hangars to tie that together. And then I would like to work on getting an instrument approach into Corman. And I don't think, and Randall, I'm going to need your help on this.
Okay.
FAA is not going to help us. So I'm going to have to go to a third party or a private party to figure out how to do that, because I just don't. It's over my head too.
Okay.
Maybe private help us too. I don't know. So, but the seal coating went well. Still have to pay the man and then turn it into DelDOT. But as fast as we've been going through jet fuel the last 3 weeks, we've been going through money like water. So it's a good problem to have, right?
It's great.
But they turned out very well. They striped the runway. I was very happy. They did a phenomenal job, I thought. AWOS, it's okay. I don't know if it's operator error sometimes, or maybe it's internet connectivity issues. I'm just not 100% for certain. So I won't be applying for one at Laurel again. I don't think I need to do that. So anyway, we have all our hangars are full. Had one guy leaving, and gosh, I was, because you have somebody leave, especially when you go to the bank and all that, you get kind of worried. It wasn't 24 hours later, we had it filled, so that was good.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's where we're at.
Good for you. Good for you. Calvin, aviation education. What's new?
Before Calvin chimes in, Calvin is our new aviation education representative on the DAAC. So thank you for being here. Thank you for accepting the offer to join, and we're happy to have you.
Absolutely appreciate everyone having me. As mentioned, I'm Calvin Hussain. I am the new Director of Aviation at Delaware State University. Spent the last 10 years of my career as an airport operations up at LG with Ben here, and had the opportunity to go back to my alma mater and run the program. And so I'm excited about that, excited for our future, excited for what we bring to the aviation community here in the state of Delaware. Randall, always good to see you, sir.
Yes, sir. You too.
And if anyone has, anything that any ideas, if you would, I'm always willing and open to discuss. I think we, with our size of our program and the size of our fleet, I think we possess a unique opportunity to do some things down the road as it pertains to our program. Working through some battles and getting over some hurdles. But again, I have a bright outlook. I think we have a bright future ahead of us in the good opportunity to train, some more pilots of the future.
Good. Next up is Robert Bryant. That's me. Taxiway Bravo project, which is our big AIP project for the next several years. We have started construction on the first quarter of that project. I've mentioned this before. This is a multi-grant, multi-year AIP funded project, expected to run through 2028 before all 4 phases of construction are complete. A couple of weeks ago, Aloft Aero Architects, the 737 group based at Delaware Coastal Airport, had their first Airbus 220 customer fly into the airport. Aloft announced that they have a 6-year contract with Airbus to retrofit the auxiliary fuel tanks and VIP interiors in several Airbus aircraft that are currently on order, several existing Airbus aircraft that are operating. So I think with the troubles that Boeing is having with the 737 right now, Aloft is excited to have a contract with Airbus.
Amen.
This FAA General Aviation Runway Extension Pilot Program, Delaware Coastal is working with Randall. We're also working with Delta Airport Consultants in putting together an application to submit to the FAA once they open up the opportunity for application submittals. This is a pilot program where the FAA will choose 2 general aviation airports each year for a 5-year period, where justification for the runway extension isn't as strict as it is right now under the FAA's AIP program and under the FAA's capital improvement program. What we need to be able to do is to convince the Federal Aviation Administration that due to the demands of some of our tenants at the airport, some of the aircraft that operate at the airport, that a runway extension is necessary, both for a social and economic needs and purposes for the airport. So again, we're waiting for the FAA to announce when applications can be submitted, and we're working on that. Jeff talked about trees. We also took down a bunch of trees at the Delaware Coastal Airport. In fact, we took down the equivalent of 25 acres, in some cases densely wooded areas surrounding the airport. And in many cases, a lot of these trees were taller than 100 feet. So that opened up the approach to runway 4, which is our primary instrument approach runway, which had been, as Jeff had even mentioned or hinted, just like at the Delaware Coastal Airport, this tree growth just stood out like a sore thumb to the FAA during our last airport layout plan and master plan update. So we're hoping that the FAA is going to be satisfied with that, and we can now concentrate on other obstructions surrounding the airport also. But you know, we're in the summer right now, peak traffic. The terminal apron is just flooded with aircraft on a Friday afternoon. And on Sundays and Monday mornings, everything that flies in for the weekend flies out. So it's an exciting time. We do have our Wings and Wheels event scheduled for the first weekend in October. Looking forward to that. And we just continue to push forward. So. Richard Horstman, any update from you?
Thank you very much. I have nothing to add at this time.
All right. Jeremiah Hardy, any update on the corporate aviation side of the industry?
Yeah, I have nothing to add at this time.
All right. Matt Jordan, any updates?
Yes, no new updates from the Air Force. We're just trucking along like normal. We're also doing some tree cutting, trying to get a contract for that now to make sure we're in compliance with our own guidelines. But that's about it. Thank you.
Cool. LaShawn Alexander.
The only update I have right now is we made the selections for Delaware Aviation Hall of Fame inductees. Last year, it was more civilian picks. This year, it appears to be all military, about 95%. Those selections were Amy Campbell, an Air Force loadmaster at Dover, 27 years, 600 combat hours. After that, we have Daniel Pereno. You guys may know some of these names. He's a business owner, pilot, employed 400 plus Delawareans at Dumont Aviation. Frank Smith, an Air Force fighter pilot in Vietnam, was number 4. And last but not least is Mark Stevenson, an Army experimental test pilot and a West Point graduate. The ceremony will be held at Monterey Maturity Center here in Dover on November 15th. I will send you all invites for that. I would like to see some of you at least attend that. Other than that, that's all the news that I have.
Excellent, thank you. And Ben, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
So since Kelvin opened it up, I want to say, congratulations to Kelvin on, taking a lead on the Delaware State Aviation Program in a new direction and what seems fit. We do miss him. I've known Kelvin for quite a while, but we're happy for him to have that opportunity. And I think it's important for all of us in this state. We have that program in our backyard, and knowing what resources are out right now as far as workforce staffing and so forth. There's a lot of opportunity having Del State in our back to help fill those gaps, especially at our own airports. All right, just generally overall for the Delaware River and Bay Authority, we welcomed a new executive director to the authority last week, and they're really exciting times for us. And when we talk about opportunities and economic development, what we can do at each of our airports. So we're doing tours at our airports right now, and presenting what opportunities we have. So really, as I say, it's exciting times for us on that. In what direction, what new things we can explore, especially from strategic initiative. ILG itself, in particular with the Air Service, We passed 660,000 passengers since the start of at least the Velo service. Attained that at the end of June. And when I say 660,000, that was both enplanements and deplanements. So just, split it in half for that. But really exciting times for us from an air service and for the community. And I think that's what's important, that we continue to grow that. Avelo Airlines themselves, we're in the summer seasons, the summer travel schedule. So summer travel has been good right now for us. No mention of any new destinations. However, Avelo did extend their schedule out to February of next year. So, there's a lot that we have on the outlook with Avelo, but we'll say, if you read the news and follow the industry, there are a lot of clouds out there as well, especially on the ultra low cost carrier market. And in particular, just put it out there, Avelo began a deportation contract with ICE back in May, and so that has raised some national attention. So, we keep our eyes on those things.
Yes. I did notice that they were closing their West Coast operations and they are going to shift everything to the East Coast, which hopefully is going to make it better for everybody else that's on, the East Coast.
Yeah, we have to take an optimistic look at that. And
yes.
Anything about Avelo, they had planned to start East Coast first, ended up going West Coast to Burbank. They've made the decision to focus solely on the East Coast at this time. So those resources, I think, are going to get transferred over by December of, or January.
Right.
Really, the only other big news for LG, we're still in our terminal expansion or the gate area, doing that 6,000 square foot expansion that came from the bill dollars, the terminal dollars. So, we can't wait to get that open. I think at this point that really allows us to meet current demand. We're not really doing much with the rest of the terminal itself, but plan to have that open by the end of October, beginning of November. Civil Air Terminal, I'll just say, we continue to work on partnerships. There's a lot that we have to bring our executive director up to speed on with that, but we did just finish NASCAR race weekend. Obviously, there's not quite the impact that it used to be with 2 races a year, and operations were really split between Wilmington and the Civil Air Terminal this year. And then lastly, Delaware Park, the 2 projects I mentioned earlier this year, those are both still underway. The terminal apron expansion, we expect to have that completed next month. And the same with our box hangars. The box hangars are up, they're fully enclosed. I think all the mechanisms are going in for the doors, but really excited to where we go with those. That's it.
Cool.
Good. Public comment. Any comments from any of the public members that are joining us this afternoon?
I think so.
Doesn't appear to be any. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 15th, 2025. Interestingly, that's the same weekend as the National Business Aviation Association meeting in Las Vegas, where I'll be at. But
Are we going on the road to Vegas?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, exactly. We'll see what happens. I should be able to Teams into that meeting. Anybody else have any final comments before we choose to close this afternoon?
Well done. Well done, Bob. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you all for being patient also. Can I have a motion to close today's meeting?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of closing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. Good seeing everyone.
Have a great
Good night, everybody.